I seem to struggle, like especially when you play enough 960. It's like the same old e4, d4, c4. It's kind of like that. Okay, well, I don't know a lot about it, but I'll give it a shot. The King's Gambit. The King's Gambit accepted, and this is the Bishop's Gambit. I think this is the extent of the Bishop's Gambit line that I know, and only with Chess Cube's help. It says it on the right there. You can't see it, but the Bishop's Gambit is showing. Okay, d4, knight c3. Or just get my knight out right away. I'll go get my knight out right away. The Bishop's Gambit. So what's the scoop? Why are they calling it that? Because there's some sack on f7? Is that what ends up happening? Okay, I'm catching in the corner of my eyes somebody saying in the Twitch chat that the King's Gambit accepted was solved recently. Ooh. Is that the truth? I have to remember to ignore spectators there on ChessCube. Let's get in d4. I don't know that this is right. I guess the knight's intending b6. Anyhow, I think you might want to do your homework on that that King's Gambit accepted being solved. Let's back up. My bishop does not want to be captured by that knight. I do not want to allow that knight bishop exchange either. Don't want to lose a piece, don't even want that type of exchange. My bishop is better placed than the knight. In I think the first game I was talking about how my queen was boxing out the knight by having two squares in between the knight and the queen. Well, similar thing going on with the bishop. Two squares of separation, the knight is boxed out. The advancing squares the knight cannot be making use of. a3 or a4. I like a4. I don't even want this pawn to get on my side of the board and be cramping to me. Also, if this pawn was able to get to a4, that means that maybe, this is a big maybe the rook could get to a5 and then swing over laterally. Not really seeing that as being too likely, but just to emphasize the new possibilities that would be present. Pressure on e. What do you do? Develop a knight? Yep. As a follow-up, I think I just take this f4 pawn. And I'm regaining my material. However, black could be really stubborn and say, you know what, you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to work harder. I'm not going to give that pawn up, but they're not saying work harder with that move. I think the move that would say work harder is knight h5, which is a little bit scary to do because it is unprotected and my queen has an eye on that diagonal. But now I think it's safe to say at this point it's clearly a success because I'm not playing a gambit, I'm not playing down material, and this is a good center. But that's not always enough, is it? You have to make it work. You have to really show that advantage a bit more. So what would I be looking to do as follow-up from this point? Would you be going with d5, e5? What is the pawn move to be going with? I think this is a move to get in. Could play it now. I would like to have this point come under some fire. I don't like being in this pin. Might there be a c5 move right around the corner? Queen e1 to g3 or queen to d3? I think I like, yeah, I think I like queen to e1. Queen e1. I'm going to go with that. Queen e1, just get out of the nonsense there. Let's get out of the pin. My knight is back to being to full strength. And yeah, there's no issue with moving the knight now. Queen g3, pressure on the bishop, opposite this pawn right here, pinning that g pawn to the king. And what else? What else is the plan there? We're gonna see. Rook d1, queen g3. Okay. The recapture, I think without a doubt, is with the rook. You really better have a good reason to recapture with the pawn in this case. This rook is already on a half-open file. Keep him there. This knight is ready to pick off my dark square bishop. Do I really care about that? I do. Let's hang on to him. As a follow-up, queen f2, rook f1. Serious pressure being placed on f7 now. However, one more thing to consider. If I play here, there's going to be knight g4, so let's just stop it. This move doing two things. Guarding g4 later on. This is a better flight square than f2 most likely. For as long as the queens are still on the board at least. Or, well, I don't know. I think the main one is just watch over g4. I don't know if you could really claim that it's good for a flight square. I don't know that h2 would be any safer than g1. Being that there's a queen still on the board, a dark square bishop still on the board. So, I really better have a good reason once again to not get all my pieces working. So, f7. Next step is this move right here. This is one that I was talking about earlier. I could get it in, and now this pawn is... There's no good defense to f7. As soon as that knight moves, 3 more pieces are hitting it. 2... Well, 1 right now directly. A second directly, and 2 indirectly. I'm considering either capture here with the bishop, rook, or maybe even first a pawn push. I think taking with the take with the rook or take with the bishop. If I take with the rook, I think the king has to run to the corner. If I take the bishop, the rook has to definitely give itself up. I recapture, the knight takes the pawn and is hitting my rook. I like something with, I think, rook takes, king here. Well, I'm not seeing it through. Or wait, pawn push first. No, I'm not really liking that either. Let me just be assured of some material here. This definitely has to be taken with the rook. And now knight takes here. To be a little bit cautious. So, okay, let me retreat to an active spot. This is active. Pressure on the knight. In such an open position, try your best to just keep pressure on your opponent's pieces. So I'm looking to reposition ever so slightly here, and I think this is a good spot for my dark square bishop. I'll want to be cautious of the bishop playing here. I'm really tempted now to just break this down. Take. Or could I consider push? Yeah, you know, I'm not going to take that. I don't want to give that up just yet. I'd like to get rid of this knight. This one is not as much a bother as this one. Let's trade a little bit. Simplification. And watch out for the tricky forks. Whatever you do, do not fall for a fork. And I think that knight is officially out of squares. No good spot for him. Knight here, followed by a pin. No time. Okay, good game. Let's back up and see if we could make an improvement. I didn't mean to. How many times do I click on that? I usually only do it during a tournament. I visit that merchandise store every so often, don't I? And always by mistake. Okay, let's see. You really have to be, I think you need to know some theory with the King's Gambit, and I don't know if I could even offer what the theory is on it. But what I have seen is that this move right here, this G5 move, is played to really try and make me work a bit harder to get that pawn back. And I think there's, if I'm not mistaken, and this is definitely fuzzy for me, but I've seen something like G5, castle, maybe even G4, and then, well, no, not G4 right away. Something like G5, castle, maybe like H6 or knight C6, and then after D4, something like maybe even sacking this knight. I don't know. I'm mixing up my thoughts, as you can definitely hear it. Something with G4 and just G3, excuse me, G3. If there's this G5 move, G3 to break down the structure, and something like if G4 is played, you end up just capturing. I don't know. I'm way off with this, and clearly, I don't even know if I should be saying it. Just throwing. I'm fishing for the words here. I just don't know the exact line that I'm trying to recall here. Something with G5 and H6, maybe even bishop to E7. I don't know. Let me maybe focus on things I can say a bit more confidently, because I'm definitely not confident with what exactly black should be doing here. The knight move, I'm not so sure about blocking in that bishop, so maybe there's something else, like getting this knight to F6 and then H5. You could be maybe thinking about that, or again G5 H6 type of stuff. The knight is boxed out, but right here, another thing to view it as is, if you don't make me struggle to get this pawn back, if you don't make it a little bit inconvenient for me, this is a tremendous success because of the center that I have, and again, I'm not playing being down a pawn anymore. So I guess the summary is, try and make it a bit more difficult to let me get that pawn back, because otherwise I'm just have a really good position. Now, how you exactly do that, I'm not sure. Again, I've thrown out the G5 move. I don't know the exact continuation, but okay, we're in the King's Gambit accepted. There's a lot of resources out there, so you can look into it maybe a bit more. How's that for advice? Hey, this is the King's Gambit. You go, you look stuff up yourself and learn. Anyhow, just know that if you're not making me struggle there, then it's a definite advantage for white. No material loss and a good center, and a well-placed bishop boxing out the knight, so forth and so on. Okay. Let me close out. Sorry I wasn't of more use to you, but just being completely honest. If I don't know it, I'm going to tell you, hey, I don't know it. And there's a real lot that I just do not know. And that's one of them.